Here is a comprehensive extraction of silent threats, behavioral traps, and actionable frameworks to ensure your money works for you. I have also attached a PDF that you can download in the description for free that will help you move properly in the video. Lazy cash constantly loses its purchasing power. We don't want our money to lose its purchasing power that we worked so hard to get. A basic saving account will only give you 1 to 3% of return per annum, whereas the inflation stays at roughly 3 to 5%. That means your money is getting in negative 2% every year. Suppose you have $8 and you went to buy a burrito or something you want. Few years later, you still have that $8.50, but the price of the burrito has jumped to $12. You still have that exact number of money, but the purchasing power is lost. When I first read about inflation, a question came to my mind: how exactly is inflation calculated? Government uses consumer price index to calculate inflation. They put the goods, they buy them, and they put in the base year, means today, the same good they will buy next year, the exact same quantity, and they will measure the difference in price. Suppose in the base year it costed $100 and in next year it costed $104. That means the price of goods went up by $4, which concludes that your purchasing power reduced by $4. Hence, the inflation was 4%. Every dollar earning near zero interest is a dollar missing out on the power of compounding. Historically, S&P 500, which is basically a index one, gives around 10% of annual return, which translates to about 7% when you adjust the inflation and capital gain taxes. I've already covered all the explanation about index one into another video. I will put it in the end screen. You can definitely go and watch this. Suppose you went to horse race. In horse race, there is roughly 10 horse. There are two scenarios. In one scenario, you bet on first horse. In second scenario, you betted on all the horses that was there. In first scenario, your probability of winning is just 10%, but in second scenario, your probability of winning is 100%. Even though in the first scenario, you will get a lot of money if you want, but you will go to zero if you lost. But in second scenario, even though you won't get a ridiculous amount of money if you want, because some will lose as well, but your money will never go to zero because someone will definitely win. That is what we call index fund. Bank rely on your fear to make profit. They take your deposit, they lend it out in a credit card or in a loan at return of 7 to 20%, but they give you barely 1%, 2%, or 3%. Had you put that extra money into an investment, you would have gotten 10% or maybe even 20%. Plus, having excess money into your account also causes some behavioral risk, that is loss aversion, the spending illusion, Parkinson law, the pain of paying, mental accounting, Dunning-Kruger effect. Let me explain all of these one by one. Loss aversion. It basically means that pain of losing is twice as much as the pain of gaining. Suppose you have $10,000 and you thought that if I keep that $10,000 into a stock market, my return will be $800. Total portfolio value will go to $10,800. But suppose something happens, market acts up and my money reduces. I lose $500. In that scenario, you will feel much more panic. You don't want to lose a single penny. That's why you will keep money into your checking account, but your checking account will give you 0% of return, or maybe if you keep it in high yield saving account, it will give you roughly 3% of return, whereas a market will give you roughly 10% of return, and your inflation, which is at 3% to 6%, will eat away your money. Loss aversion also plays a significant role in our second behavioral risk, that is the spending illusion and Parkinson law. Your monthly expenses of $4,000, okay, you just saved that $10,000 as well. Now your bank account has total of $14,000. When you will go for window shopping or wherever you will go outside or maybe online even, you will start buying product, you will start paying extra. Like if you were going to buy a burger, you might have generally bought a $1 burger, but now you are thinking that I have $14,000, I can buy a $2 burger or $5 burger. Buying days, upgrading to unnecessary things, getting unnecessary subscription just because you think you have a lot of money because of that number. There was a time when I spent roughly $40,000 in a month on ridiculous thing and I don't even remember what was those. Now I have definitely fixed myself, but I'm still not perfect. That is why I say keeping such huge amount of money into your account is a risk. To overcome this risk, I introduced pain of paying in my life. Now in $14,000, what I will do is I will keep $2,500 $1,500 into a separate account so that I don't use that grocery money for something else, and I will keep extra $1,500 into a different account. That $1,500 account, I will keep it on my primary phone, primary device. Suppose I went to buy a $500 shoes, I will think, no, this is a lot of money. I only have $1,500. I don't want to spend $500 into a shoes. Whereas had you had the $14,000 in your primary account, you will think, $500 is not that much money. Let's just buy it. By introducing this pain of paying, you introduce friction. You break the illusion of having lot of money, which in return protects your money. So remember, I just said keep your $2,500 into a separate isolated account. I told you to do that because if you keep your money into an isolated account, you will create a psychological wall. What this psychological wall will do is it will introduce friction. Plus, having that much money in a single account also create another risk, that is you mistake the ability of hoarding money for the ability to building wealth. Suppose you earn $100,000. You are very happy that yes, I have a lot of money, but you forgot one important thing. You are getting barely 0.1% to 3% of return per year in your saving account. Had you invested that money, you would have gotten more than 10% return, or let's just say 10% return. But because you didn't invest, you are getting roughly 1 to 3% of return annually. Your inflation rate is 3% to 6%. Hence, your money is in negative. By chance, you are not very advanced or very fluent in technology, I would recommend keeping your main account into a separate isolated base so that even if scammers tries to scam your money, they will eventually fail because they can't get access to the account. You need emergency fund for 3 to 9 months. Emergency fund is your essential living cost multiplied by 3 to 9 months. Essential living cost is the money you will need to survive without all the luxuries. Why you need 3 to 9 months? Due to the volatile nature of your job. Suppose your job is stable, means you get stable amount of money, you can keep 3 months of essential living cost. Suppose your job is volatile, means your income fluctuates a lot, then you should keep at least 9 months of essential living cost. You will also need to have insurance, a health insurance, and that too of a very good quality and a reputable place. You do have an emergency fund, but suppose some health emergency happens and this money is not enough, in that case you will have a backup of insurance. Why you must not have any more than 3 to 9 months is because that will go to waste. I have already explained. Keeping more than needed money into a bank account will just get corroded by inflation. You need to think your checking account or saving account as a airport terminal. The role of your checking account should be of not parking the money, but just letting the money stay for a while so that you can allocate it a proper place where it should be. Keep 1 month or 2 months of your living expenses with a extra 10% or 20% of buffer. Why we need a buffer? Because if your account balance will go below minimum balance, you will get a penalty from bank. You can avoid the penalty by having a zero balance account, but you need to remember one thing, that zero balance account has a lot of restriction. If you are okay with those restrictions, you can obviously go for zero balance account. If you are not okay, just follow this rule and you will be safe. Suppose you want to buy a home in upcoming 5 years, or suppose you want to get married in upcoming 5 years. Now you have saved up the money, but if you put that money in stock, yes, stock is very good for increasing the value of your money, but stock is very volatile. In case in the time of need, when you need to remove that money, the stock market goes down, you will lose your money and you will have to wait for we don't know how many years for that money to recover. For that scenario, we compromise on the return and we prioritize our saving the money. And to prevent inflation from eating your money, you can put that money into a CD, basically a fixed deposit or a high yield saving account. Make sure that if your paycheck arrives, you divide your money into a multiple account wherever you want to invest it or save it, do whatever you want. We need this because it introduces the friction. Some tricks you can use for introducing friction: have a product in a cart and only buy from that cart after 48 hours so that you know that you actually need the product or not. Second, you can remove all your credit cards or all your debit cards from your account so that in case you are going to pay, you introduce the friction of you need to get your card, you need to check the number, you need to fill the OTP, you need to fill the CVV, and then only you can pay. One more tip I would recommend you to always make sure that you go and check that till what amount your bank is insuring your money. What I want to say is, yes, you can technically keep unlimited amount of money, as much you want into your bank account, but bank will only insure up to a specific number that the government has allocated it. Any money above that number will not be insured. In case something happens to the bank, your money will just get lost. You will only get the money, the amount that was insured. Just in case if you are keeping any more than this money, keep it in multiple accounts, or you can use that for asset allocation. Some example of that are your stock markets, your index fund, your real estate, and the best investment is investment in yourself. Basically, you upgrade your skill. After upgrading your skill, you get more money. As your income increases, you can now invest a lot more. Here are some of the places where you can keep your money. Let us go through them one by one. These are index fund, the tax account, CDs and bonds. Real estate. Index fund means owning tiny slices of thousands of companies. I explained this. Retirement account are basically safer form of investment. Like government gives you some option that you can open this retirement account. In this retirement account, you can invest the money for like up to you are 50 years old or 30 years old, or for a 30-year timeline. You will get higher amount of return compared to a fixed deposit or a high yield saving account. It will not be as high as a proper stock investment or index fund, but it gives you the benefit that you won't have to pay tax on the return you will get from the retirement account. Obviously, it has the limit of how much money you can invest. Certificate of deposit is basically fixed deposit. You tell the bank that you want to keep your money for roughly maybe 3 years, 4 years. You will get this 7% of return, or maybe 8%. 8% is very rare case. 7% is a general case. So you will get 7% of return. You will have to pay tax on this. You need to check that when you go for a certificate of deposit or a fixed deposit, there is no breakage penalty, so that in emergency, if you have to take your money out, you don't have to pay the penalty. Bonds are something similar, but they are traded like stocks on open market. If you want to get your money out of the bonds, you will need to sell your bond. Now, there are many cases where if you are getting the bond as the primary customer from the government directly, you may not have to pay the tax. Or if you are getting the bond from a secondary seller or a second hand bond, then you might have to pay the tax. You will need to check this with your CA. Next is the most controversial investment that I think, and it is real estate. Basically, real estate has lot of issue, like it is geographically locked. There are many mafias that can take your land. You will need to make sure that you always go and see your land so that someone don't take over it, and it also takes a lot of time to sell. But it has some advantage, like it can work as a hedge fund. It gives you cash flow because you can actually rent that land. Most probably you can rent after building something on the land, and you can also use them for getting loans. Personally, I always prefer gold over any land because I don't like all the hassle of managing land. You can use your gold to get loans. As for cash flow, there are many passive income things. You also get dividends from stock market. So all in all, I tend to stay away from real estate, but if you want, you can always go there. I guess that was it. I explained to you why you must not keep any more than what is needed into your saving accounts. I also explained to you tips you can use to prevent your behavioral risk. I also explained to you how to prevent the theft. All of this is covered, and yep, check this video out. You will know more about the investment, especially how I invested and managed my money when I first got my $1,000.